guys, it's Ted Gravelin, and I had some really big video tips for you today. I wanted to go through a whole funnel. This kind of came up because I've been watching some stuff going on in different Facebook groups and stuff about people confused about how to generate business from top to bottom. So we're talking about the funnel. If you don't know what the funnel is, I'm going to describe it. It's right over here. You probably have something like a funnel, but it may not be optimized to be working for you. The reason why it's called a funnel is because it does narrow down from the top to the bottom. There's a bunch of traffic coming in the top from people, and at the bottom are the people who are dropping out the bottom that are your sales and things what you're trying to get to. So briefly, the parts of a funnel, they can have 3 steps, 10 steps, 20 steps, 2 steps, all kinds of things. But we're going to do one that's like a 4-step funnel, which is pretty common, and then we'll kind of describe where the parts might break down, where it might not be working for somebody, and where some of the pitfalls are where people start to blame some of the other things that they think are wrong with it, which are actually a myth, which is where it's not really the blame. So for example, in this funnel, it's 4 steps. The first is the ad. We're going to have an ad of some sort. We'll talk about Facebook as a typical one, but it could be Instagram or Google or any other place that you're getting traffic from. So you're driving people into the top of your funnel somehow, however that may be. And it could even be word of mouth or something. You have a traffic source. Okay, so in this case, it's an ad. And that ad, when the people see the ad, they click on it, they click and they land on a landing page. A landing page is the place where they land when they click. So the best thing is a purposely built landing page for that particular offer. So if you're offering a certain thing, they land on a page that talks only about that with a very, very clear call to action on that page that you want them to do the next thing. Sometimes the landing page, if it's not done real well, could be something like just your main homepage of your website. It's still the page they land on. After that, we want to get a call booked in most cases. If you're in the air conditioning world, right, we want to get a booked call. So we want the ad to lead to a landing page with the landing page or some other process in here to lead to a booked call. And then that booked call eventually we want to lead to someone buying something and lead to a sale. So that's how we want the funnel to work in its general sense. Now there could be more steps in here. Your landing page could have 2 or 3 other steps in there. Nothing wrong with that. You could have your booking thing, could be online, could be a phone call, could be a lot of different things, different processes in here. So this is 4 steps, but it could be 10 steps. So that we're clear what the funnel looks like. That's the funnel part. Over here, let's talk about one that would be running, and these numbers are kind of typical. Doesn't mean that these are the numbers that you'll get off of yours. I've seen them work all different ways. But let's talk about how one number affects the others as we go through. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that we have an audience size of 100,000 people that we are sending our ad to. Because I'm using it because that's a nice round number. Okay, so you could have 500,000, you could have 10,000, whatever it may be. We're going to do 100,000 people that we're going to run traffic to. And if we get a 1% click-through rate, which is pretty typical, and some people are like, oh, I'm only getting 1%. It's like, no, 1% is a good number. So if you get 1% of 100,000 people, you get 1,000 clicks. Now, we want to be clear if you're using Facebook that these are link clicks and not just general clicks, because there's a difference. Okay, the link clicks are the ones where they clicked your link to go to your landing page. If it's the other kind of clicks, Facebook counts all the little clicks where it might say see more and things, and people are opening that up and stuff. Well, that's not really, it didn't really take anybody anywhere. That's not really a link click, okay? So they have 2 different measurements in the Facebook stats. You have to watch which one. But we're going to talk about 1%, get 1,000 clicks off of 100,000 people. What that means is 1,000 people landed on the landing page. And if the landing page is converting, and if it converts at about 20%, which would be a good number. I've seen them at 40 and 50%. I've seen them working well at 7 and 8%. But let's just say 20% of those folks that land on the landing page like what they see, they go through whatever your process is on there, and they get 20% of the people convert, and that's 200 people that convert and do what we want them to do next. In which case, it's to book a call, and we're going to say that we got 200 calls booked off of this, and let's just say that they were $49 calls because they were like a tune-up offer or something. Just making something up here. So let's just say we have $49 tune-up offer. We have 200 of them. So what does that mean? It means we got $9,800 in revenue from this. Now, that may not be enough to pay for everything because you could be losing money on $49 calls. That's okay, but you still got $9,000 coming in, right? Almost $9,900 coming in. That's where the 200 calls are going. But that's not the end of the funnel, because in our case, if you had, let's just say, a situation where, let's just say, a furnace in your area or an air conditioner in your area lasts 20 years. So that would mean that 1 out of 20 systems is probably bad statistically. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to have just run 20 and you'll get one. You might run 40 and get 2, but the 2 might have come on the last 3 calls of the 40, right? So it doesn't always work out. But if you run a big enough number of statistics, you probably will find that whatever your length of longevity of a system is average in your area is kind of what you average. Now, you can do better than that. We're talking about legit finding systems that are broken, that can't be repaired, that need to be replaced, not doing anything underhanded or anything. You're just legitimately going to find cracked heat exchangers or compressors that are so old and junky they shouldn't be replaced inside the condenser. You're going to find stuff that really needs to be replaced. Legit, okay? So with better training, though, sometimes you can find better than that, because if I think back to my early career, 25, 30 years ago, it's like, oh my gosh, how many furnaces did we walk past that we know today would have been bad if we had known where to look and had cameras and things that we had with good technology to have really looked really well and found the ones that were no good, instead of just throwing another Band-Aid on them and fixing them. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, though, that we get 1 out of 20. That means we got 10 sales. And let's just say we're selling them at 8K as our average sale. Now, your numbers may be higher than this, maybe lower than this. I don't care. We're doing a thing here, okay? And we're going to have that debate as we go through this process of how the numbers affect each other. But that means you got $80,000 in sales. So how does that affect the whole funnel? Well, let's just say back up at the top when we were buying this $100,000 person reach and we paid for 1,000 clicks. When you pay for clicks, you generally pay per click, PPC. So in Google right now, per click, it's costing a lot. It's costing in a lot of markets $50 to $75, and that for the really good keywords. Google is important, but it's also not cost effective if you have a limited budget. If you have a more limited budget, something like Facebook is, which I'm intimately familiar with, but other things like Instagram and that can work as well, where you can, and Pinterest, by the way, for women, if you're trying to target women, they're all on Pinterest. They can cost you, the average Facebook click today is between $1 and $4. So, 1,000 clicks here could cost $1,000 to $3,000-$4,000. So it's not like it's, 50,000, but let's just do the math here. If we spent $4,000 and we made 80,000 plus another 9,000, so I made 89,000. We're spending like 4.5% of our total revenue from this funnel to build this funnel. So it's not huge. Now, here's the bad news. If you're only spending a really limited amount, like a couple of $100, you may not get the results you want, because you may find out that each of these calls to get to your people that are buying a sale, or to get to the people who are doing your initial investment here, your initial thing here. You say, well, I got 1,000 clicks. That means like every 50 clicks or something, you're getting someone to take advantage of your offer, getting through your funnel. Every 50 to 100 clicks. Well, in that case, what the problem is that you're only, if you say, well, I did this, I did a Facebook marketing thing, and I had like 25, 40 people landed on my thing and no one did anything. So it didn't work and I turned it off. It's like, well, no kidding. You didn't run enough clicks yet. You got to run enough to get where you're going to run past that number. So you're going to have to run a couple of hundred clicks before you know if the darn thing works. So, that means that if they're $2 a click and you want to run 100 of them, you're going to have to spend $200-$300, right? Before you tell yourself it's not working. So I see people all the time that build out a process and then don't stay with it long enough to get statistics. So statistical numbers matter. Okay. Now, what happens if some of the numbers change? Where does it break down? So we'll see people where things that are broken in the funnel. So the funnel can be broken right at the top, but that's pretty rare. Once you got a 1% or so click rate, my current campaign that I'm running right now for my own self is running at about 0.8%, like not even 1%. It's still cost effective, it still works fine at a little less than 1%. But if you're getting a number around there, then you're probably okay on the top end, and it's not the fault of the ad or the ad platform. So think of this whole thing like a big air conditioning system, right? I got a thermostat, I got a contactor that turns it on, I got a motor, I got a compressor, I got all these different parts have to work for it to do its job, right? What typically happens, and we find this from our own customers, when it doesn't work, we always want to blame the top thing, the thermostat. Like, this is where you turn it on and off and turn it up and down. And it's like, well, if the result I wanted down here didn't happen, we want to blame the thing up here. But that doesn't work very well. You have to find out where it's really gone bad and try to fix it at that point. So let's just say we drove our 1,000 clicks and it came over here, but we didn't get 200 conversions. We didn't get 20%. Well, this isn't the problem. Probably not. We probably have a problem with the landing page and what's going on in here. We didn't build a good landing page. We didn't build one with good compelling ad copy. We didn't build one that had a clear call to action. We didn't build one that where this audience liked it. Okay, so it could be here if you built a landing page here that's really, really great for, I don't know, females, and we targeted a bunch of men. Well, maybe that could be, we could change the targeting and fix it, or we could change the landing page and fix it. But there's a disconnect somewhere here if you're not getting your conversions. And I don't know that we can have, a few minute video here go through why that is, because I would have to see exactly what's going on with your landing page and your offer and all those things. But if you're not getting the conversions, you're already broken right here. Let's say you are getting the conversions. Let's say we did get 150, 200, 250 conversions off of this thing. It's like, well, okay, so if I didn't get 200 conversions, but I got 125, will I kill this campaign? Not necessarily. I could let this run. So instead of 20%, I'm getting 12% or 10%. Okay, I'll take it. And I get, instead of 200 calls, I get 100. But if I'm going over here, and during these calls, we're not converting those calls into sales at all. Like, we're just running around and our guys are just running them, and we got technicians running tune-ups or whatever the heck this thing is. If they're not doing a good job of converting to the next step when they should, then that can be the problem. So that becomes a sales conversion problem. Or maybe we do flip leads, but nobody sold it, nobody bought. Okay, so that's a sales training problem. We need to make sure that we've got good sales training that matters, so that people can tell whether or not that's the right step for them. And again, not being pushy or any of that stuff. Let's not go there. Okay, we're going to talk about a company that's running everything the way they're supposed to, but how do you build a legit company? So, this is where you can have things break in the sales process. They can break in the service tech process. They could break in the booking process. You could have had a whole bunch of people go through here, and let's just say you're doing phone bookings instead of online. Like, they're not clicking to book or call online. They're actually calling to book a call. But let's just say your CSRs that answer the phone in your office, they're only booking like 60% of the people who call. And the other 40%, they're letting them get off the hook with things like, well, I'm going to talk to my husband and I'll get back to you, and then they don't, or whatever all the little excuses are. You can have a problem here where this did its job, landing page did its job, and when they got to here, it could be a problem. And the only way to know is to be measuring it. You've got to be measuring how many calls are coming in and how many calls are getting onto your booking, onto your schedule. So, if you're a small company and you're not even using scheduling software, like if you're just like writing stuff down on random pieces of paper and answering calls yourself with your cell phone in your truck and stuff, that can be a problem if you're trying to grow and scale a business, because you can't track it, for one. And secondarily, you're running too many things at once. You're wearing 16 hats, and quick Superman to a nearby phone booth with your secret identity as an office person, and that could be a problem if you're trying to run a good marketing campaign, because you need to be able to track and be smooth and be consistent. And once it is working, you want to scale it so that it can scale to the next bigger size. Throughout this whole process, the biggest piece is probably, if you're a small company, we're talking about the 1 truck operations, 2, 3 truck operations, the problem is often the owner, because he's got too many of these things where he's doing everything himself. You don't have a system for each piece of this that's built in place. When you don't have a system, what happens is you're stuck with just however much you can handle, and at some point you can't scale past that. Once you're working a 60 or 70 hour week, you're not going to get any bigger than that or any busier than that. So that can be a problem. So I had one more number to show you how these things can affect each other. Down here in the bottom, if I can get my sales from 10 up to 15 at 8K, I make 120K off of this funnel instead of 80. So I can also have that change where if I change this number to say 10K instead of 8, then I get 100,000 instead of 80. If I have this go down to 5, then I have a problem because I only got $50,000 over here. And even if I got up to more sales from that, I sold 15 at 5,000. It's still not going to work as well. Okay, so because there's some other things we're not talking about on this about how the numbers work. When you sell more jobs for cheaper prices, you have more equipment to buy, more labor to do, more everything, and it's not more profitable to be busier. Okay, it's profitable to have all the right numbers hitting and all the right margins and stuff. But we're just talking today about the funnel, so we won't go into that. But there's a lot of variables you can have in here where you say, well, I can't sell them at 8K, I'll have to sell them at 6. Well, okay, but you're going to mess up your whole profitability by dropping this to 60, dropping your profitability on the 60 down in the first place, and then not having enough money to pay for the clicks up here. Because now we went from 4, 5, 6% of our budget to going to driving traffic up to like 10% driving traffic, which 10% is valid if you're really profitable. But if you're running a sales process at 6K or so on systems and you're not as profitable and you start running 10% marketing, then it becomes a problem. So just using just the percentage doesn't work. So anyway, without going too far into this, if you need more help, then please let me know. This is what I do all day for companies. I show owners how to build all this stuff. And there is no place you can go where someone's going to build all of the pieces for this for you. A done for you doesn't work, doesn't exist anywhere. People try it. They try something like, this is the curse of things like Angie's List and Home Advisor and that is there's some kind of a mythology out there that says, well, I'll just hire some company and to just build all this stuff for me. And they don't, because they can't build your ad. If they're really good at ads, they're probably not going to build landing pages. They might even do both of those. They might even be good at this part. And they can't do the booking for you because you don't have a process in your office. And your process might not even be there. Or they can't help you decide what the offer should be in the first place because all they do is they're computer coders. They build HTML sites. They do coding on websites. And they're good at it. But the problem with most websites and most landing pages is what it says on the page once you land there. That's your job. That's the owner's job. There is no way that you can delegate the growth of your company off to somebody to build all of these things from top to bottom. It's your job to be the conductor of the orchestra and know how this works. If you're having trouble with that, please get help. That's what I do all day long. I help folks with that. If you want to do that, it's tedgravlin.com/booking. We can talk on the phone, figure out where you're breaking down in your funnel. We'll figure out how to help you. If I can, I will. If I can't, I'll show you where to go to get better help. But ultimately, there can be all those processes where you can hire a company to build all this stuff, and in the sales process, you can screw it up. And there's great sales trainers out there. I know because I'm one of them. But there's other ones out there too. But don't sit here wondering why something's not working and blaming the wrong thing when you're diagnosing it wrong. Okay, so like any other diagnosis, you got to get to the root of the problem and just fix that part. And in most cases, when a funnel is broken, it's one of these places. It's one of 3 or 4 places. It's rarely the traffic. It's sometimes the traffic, but that's like 5% of the time. About 80% of the time, it's someplace right in here in the clicks and the conversions that your problem is. And that has to do with the offer and all that stuff. So I want to keep this to fairly short today. So we'll talk soon, and we'll see you later.